Yesterday, we got the news breaking of Auto Club Speedway's race for NASCAR being replaced by a race at the Daytona road course. This puts the Daytona road course as the second race of the season and moves Homestead's weekend to the third race of 2021. The truck race at Homestead will also move to the Daytona road course, so Homestead will be an Xfinity Cup weekend. And it isn't really NASCAR's fault either, as California Governor Gavin Newsom has really been looking to crack down on live sports in 2021. And it's not just NASCAR that's having these problems either, even INDYCAR is having problems with California as well. So, for the opening 3 weeks, we're pretty sure that NASCAR will be in Florida. Again, anything could happen with COVID or government restrictions, so we probably won't be very sure until the last weekend or two of January. But after those 3 weeks, then what happens? Let's look a little more in depth at this. NASCAR's wanting to have some amount of fans at every race this season for Cup. Let's look into the guidelines for each state and country that NASCAR's top 3 series race at. Before doing that though, we also have to look and see how the US is looking at vaccine distribution. The vaccines are beginning to be released this month, and it's really going to be the first phase of people, those who are in healthcare and at most risk. Then first responders, teachers, public workers, and really anyone who helps with day-to-day operations of essential systems, then anyone over 65, then all other essential workers, and finally, healthy adults and children. The current estimates have us opening up much more and really about to normal between June and September of 2021. So going off that metric, we're going to say that the playoff races will be good to go. Once again, we are looking at the regular season, just like 2020. Now, as we go into the states, I do want to ask you guys at home, if you live in any of these states, let me know how they've been with their COVID response and how you think they probably will be. Again, we're probably all going to be wrong in some way about this, but it is still fun to have the dialogue go back and forth. So starting off, we'll look at Alabama for the Talladega race at the end of April. Alabama currently has a mask mandate, but is fairly lax on COVID restrictions. When I was there in October, I can say that things felt pretty normal aside from a bit smaller crowd at Talladega. I'd say that this race will be safe on its spot in the schedule. Next, we have Arizona, which currently allows fans at Cardinals games and has brought the 49ers down, so they're going to be around 7% capacity right now, which is much like the NASCAR finale. I think that they'll be good to go as well. Okay, I talked about California earlier, but I will give another response again due to Sonoma being in June. Like I said before, California Governor Gavin Newsom seems to be aiming to go nuclear on COVID, and some rumors are that Cali won't have any live sports at all next year. Sonoma may not happen for the second straight year, but I think it has a better shot this year. Now, while not being in the US, there is a truck race planned to be at CTMP in September. Currently, there's a travel ban in the US, so whenever that is rolled back or lifted completely for Canada, we'll decide whether or not this race happens. If it doesn't, we're probably going to see a road course replace it from the United States, or it'll just be added to the Darlington weekend that it currently is on. Looking at Delaware, they currently have a stay-at-home order in place and are incredibly strict. Dover's race is planned for May 16th. So depending on the speed of the vaccine rollout and what the COVID numbers are, we may see this race on its scheduled date, or we may see something replace it. Who knows? If not, it may be swapped with a more lax state, like Florida, who at the moment is fully open. While I don't expect the first 3 races to have 100% capacity, they may be able to do that by the time Daytona comes up in August again. Even strict leagues like the NFL are allowing 25% capacity at the current time. Georgia is a bit of a different story though. They have a voluntary mask option, and businesses really are required to sanitize a lot, but that's about it. There is also a requirement for no gatherings over 50 people, and crowds for Falcon games have been allowed at limited capacity. The race on March 21st may be very limited, but I have much more hope for the July race in the summer. Next up is my home state of Illinois. Believe it or not, even with Chicagoland Speedway gone, there still is going to be a race in the land of Lincoln next year. This will be a truck race at Gateway. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has been one of the most strict with COVID. Currently, we are at 25% capacity with opening up, and at the brink of a stay-at-home order. There are also no sports crowds either, or really high school sports in general. With Gateway being in August, there still is hope for a full capacity race there in my opinion. The next door neighbor of Illinois is Indiana. Indiana last year pissed off a lot of fans by being very strict, and strict enough that the Indy 500 had no fans in attendance. They are also listed under a long-term extended health emergency. With the race being in August and the Colts being able to host now 20% capacity crowds currently, I have high hopes that the Indy doubleheader with INDYCAR will have a lot of fans there. On the other side of Illinois is Iowa. Iowa will host a NASCAR Truck Series race at Knoxville in July. While they currently have a mask mandate, they also have turned now to a quicker response to COVID. Seeing how this race is in July, I again expect it to go off well. Next to Iowa is Kansas. Kansas is currently allowing local governments to decide the COVID protocols, so that will be up to the Kansas City area. The race that they held this past October with fans actually was decently run, and at the moment, the Chiefs are playing in front of 22% capacity crowds. This race is set for May 2nd, but I think it should run fairly well. Michigan, on the other hand, is insanely strict. They currently are still allowing no big gatherings, no fans at Lions games, and really just nothing in general. Almost everything is closed, and they're under the threat of another stay-at-home order. The big upside here is that this race is set for August 22nd, so by then they should be pretty good to go and at least allow some fans into the track at Michigan. Next is Nevada. Nevada has went from one of the more relaxed states on COVID to now one of the more strict states. There were no fans in September for the NASCAR race, and currently the Las Vegas Raiders are not allowed fans either. And with the state's growing requirements, they may be very wary of the NASCAR Tour coming to town after 3 straight weeks at wide open Florida. This one is really iffy in my opinion. Another more strict state is also New Hampshire. They currently have a mask order and are really strict, like I said. They also allowed fans though last summer, so I expect them to do the same in their schedule in July this year. New York is much more strict. They have a curfew. They have less than 50 people allowed at gatherings as a maximum, and no crowds are currently allowed at sporting events. Hopefully things can recover by the start of August for them to have a good crowd for the return of Watkins Glen. North Carolina is a bit more perplexing of a state. Currently, the provisions in place give law enforcement the right to cite those for not wearing masks, and whatever their punishment might be, probably is a fine. They are currently also being stuck in phase 3 of reopening and are allowing 7% capacity crowds at Panthers games. The 600 should probably be able to run at the end of May, but there will not be a full crowd for sure. The Xfinity Series will be scheduling to go to Mid-Ohio in the start of June though. Currently, the state has a stay-at-home order and a mask mandate that has been in place since July. I would expect this race to be run with little to no fans unless there is some kind of change, which of course, there's a long time between here and now, so there can be. But a positive sign is that 18% capacity is being allowed at Bengals and Browns games. The Pocono doubleheader may be at a little risk though. Currently, Pennsylvania is under a stay-at-home advisory and has very strict travel restrictions. While Eagles games have no attendance, Steelers games do have 8% attendance. Hopefully, things improve by next summer. For now, though, I would think there'd be a limited crowd at this race. South Carolina currently has no mask mandate, so early in May next year is probably going to have a lot of fans, and I'd assume run on schedule for Darlington. Next summer and spring will be big for racing in Tennessee. While there currently is no mask mandate, they are heading that direction in the state. Titans games, though, are currently open at 21% capacity, and the Bristol Night Race and the All-Star Race at Bristol held between 20 to 40,000 fans respectively. The Dirt Race in March may have some problems, but I expect the Father's Day race at Nashville to be a lot better. One state that has vowed not to shut down under any circumstances is Texas. Texas's regression, to put it in perspective right now, is to 50% capacity. They have had a mask order since July, but are relatively open. The Cowboys also are at 25% capacity in Dallas, and the Texans are at 20% capacity in Houston. So I'd assume COTA and the All-Star race should run with fans on schedule. A more restrictive state is that of Virginia. Virginia is requiring masks and has a 10 p.m. curfew. With races earlier in the year at Martinsville and Richmond on back-to-back weekends in April, I think it's a little iffy. Looking at when it's placed on the schedule, I think that it's just going to be tough. Crowds will be very small if they're even allowed, and I guess they could move or be replaced. Either one, Martinsville or Richmond. This would be a wait and see in my book. Now, Wisconsin should be a lot better of a chance. The race weekend at Road America will be on the 4th of July weekend. Wisconsin is actually still fairly open too. Most of the governor's orders have not actually been orders and more just urgings of people to wear masks and stay home more, but leaving it up to individuals and businesses. Over the summer, it was nearly open though, and I was up there a lot over the summer. It was pretty open for most of it. So I see no reason as to why the 2021 race weekend at Road America should not go off without a hitch. And that's it, my summary of every state planning on hosting a 2021 NASCAR Touring Series race. I think for the most part, the 2021 season, while not at full capacity to start, will run almost completely on schedule. Now, I want to hear from you. How do you think the 2021 season will look? And if you live in any of these states, let me know more in detail in the comments below about how your states currently are and how they've responded to COVID. I'd really just like to know. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.